Welcome back, everyone, to our incredible YouTube Partner Program community. And honestly, to all the dedicated Sigma Bank AI followers joining us across our entire digital ecosystem, welcome to this explainer. You know, over the last 90 days, something pretty strange, absolutely beautiful, and deeply intentional has been happening to this channel's growth. If you look at our data, it isn't just, well, going up in a straight, predictable line. It's actually curving. It's building serious momentum. So today, we're throwing out the standard playbook to dissect the intentional architecture behind our recent expansion. Every digital footprint starts out as an empty space, right? A complete zero-point field. But when you apply a deliberate, analytical architecture to growth, those numbers stop being mere statistics. They literally transform into geometry. We're going to map out exactly how your interactions are drawing the very first spiral of our media ecosystem. Okay, let's dive into this. Take a look at the number anchored right in the center here, 3008. Slowly, over the course of our first 90 days, those numbers rapidly spun up and locked heavily into place at exactly 3008 subscribers. We went from a dark, empty zero-point field to a solid, undeniable monolith. This right here is the foundation of our collective velocity. We set out 3 months ago to test a very specific thesis. Can a digital community actually scale according to the laws of organic, natural expansion? Well, this number is our first definitive yes. And then this expands outward into an even larger horizon line, 186,200 views. Now, it's incredibly easy to look at a number like 186.2K and just treat it as some abstract metric on a dashboard, but honestly, that's missing the entire point of what we're building here. These aren't just phantom clicks. Every single one of those views represents a real human being. In a world that is completely saturated with infinite noise and fleeting trends, human beings are actively choosing to stop, sit down, and engage in deeply complex conversations. You guys are tuning in to understand decentralized banking, the architecture of AI agents, remittances, and the real-world asset tokenization that's fundamentally reshaping finance. Every single view is a tiny, localized event in the growing ledger of this community.
So let's move into Section 1, Unlocking the Golden Ratio and the Metadata Behind the Curve.
To really understand how we achieved this macro-level success, we need to stop looking at the raw output and look under the hood. Here is the blueprint. The golden ratio, or phi, sitting at approximately 1.618. For centuries, architects, artists, and mathematicians have obsessed over this number because it's literally the fundamental geometry of growth in the natural world. It dictates how galaxies spiral, how branches form on a tree, and even how seeds pack into a sunflower. Now, I know applying sacred geometry to channel analytics sounds like something a math nerd does with way too much free time, and hey, maybe it is, but I want to be super clear here. We aren't looking at this as some sort of mysticism. We are looking at it as a highly disciplined blueprint for content and community. When we designed Sigma BankAI's storytelling strategy, the goal was to build a system where each layer of effort makes the next layer 1.6 times stronger, easier, and just more inevitable. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between standard content creation and what we're doing. On one side, you have standard linear growth. This is the traditional path driven by chaotic spikes, viral hopes, and the completely unpredictable whims of standard platform algorithms. It's exhausting and, frankly, mathematically inefficient. On the other side, we have our model, geometric acceleration. Instead of endlessly chasing a viral spike, we're building a compounding wave. This smooth, powerful wave is driven purely by community resonance and structural efficiency. We are expanding faster than standard algorithms even anticipate, because we aren't relying on the algorithm, we're relying on the compounding geometry of human interest. Let's dive into the heavy metadata for a second to prove this. We've got 913 likes, 625 shares, and 214 comments. When we map a classic golden spiral over these data points, specifically looking at our sharing to liking velocity, the math reveals a 90.3% structural efficiency. But the most compelling leap here is from dialogue, those 214 comments, to distribution, those 625 shares. Our community's impulse to share our narratives is actually outperforming standard geometric progression by 11.5%. That's huge. You're not just passively consuming content here, you are actively propagating it, carving a steep, exponential curve upwards that totally shatters the baseline linear projection. Moving on to Section 2, our 90-day geometric expansion, broken down into 3 macro cycles. So, how did we actually construct this geometry over the last 3 months? Well, natural systems expand in cycles, right? And ours perfectly mirrors a third-degree Fibonacci expansion. Phase F0 was the decision. That was the moment we committed to building Sigma Bank in public, starting with a foundation of about 730 core believers. No massive numbers, just pure intention. Then came phase F1, consistency. This was the intense discipline of refining highly complex topics like real-world asset tokenization into digestible 4 to 6 minute explainers, uploading steadily even when the views were small. That laid the structural foundation. Which brings us to phase F2, the first visible spiral. This is where those concentric rings locked into our modern perimeter of 3,008 subscribers. In just 90 days, by moving through these 3 distinct compound phases, we effectively quadrupled our digital footprint. Now, look at the current pulse of the channel. Notice this brilliant electric blue spike right at the very end. In just the last 7 days alone, this ecosystem pulled in an electric surge of 21,200 views. Think about what that actually means mathematically for a second. A single week generated over 11% of our entire all-time traffic. And it isn't because a single explainer randomly went viral. It's because our entire content library is starting to work like a synchronized engine. The curve is absolutely not flattening out. Right now, as we speak, we are actively climbing the vertical wall of the organic spiral. Let's hit section 3, your impact on the curve and the cross-platform convergence. So the crucial point is this. To break the fourth wall for a moment, the spiral isn't made of numbers. It's made of relationships. When you step back from the YouTube Partner Program analytics, the watch time, the retention curves, the click-through rates, you realize those are all just secondary effects. The primary engine of this channel is that we are not some massive echoing stadium. We are an intimate, highly focused auditorium of founders, builders, operators, and curious minds. You are the people who see the cracks in the legacy financial system and are actively engaging to understand how we can fix it together. Every individual, decentralized interaction you make directly feeds into our long-term growth patterns. When you leave a like, it acts as a small amen to the thesis we're presenting. When you comment, you are literally providing dialogue in what is essentially our open-source white paper. And when you share an explainer, you are actively distributing brand new mental models for wealth and financial inclusion. By syncing this data blueprint across our network, we are entirely bypassing the noise of volatile algorithms. Instead, you're helping us build a structural, high-resonance foundation across every single touchpoint. Section 4, scaling to 5,000 members, which means phase 4 begins. Let's move to and see how this builds our future roadmap. We've reverse engineered the past, but the Fibonacci sequence doesn't stop. After 3 comes 5. If this channel has helped you think differently about money, code, or sovereignty, I'm asking you to keep bending this spiral with us as we aim for our next major milestone of 5,000 founding members. First, like this explainer right now to signal the algorithm that this framework is valuable. Second, leave a comment with the exact topic you want us to unpack next, whether that's a specific DeFi primitive, navigating regulatory challenges, or the deep architecture of AI. And finally, share this explainer with just one builder or founder who really needs to see this. Getting to 5,000 members is what will allow us to unlock the next layer of this channel, bringing you live case studies and fully cinematic demos of agentic AI systems negotiating real-world value right on screen. Sigma BankAI is not just a product roadmap, guys. It is a mathematical pattern. And we are etching a new piece of financial geometry into the internet together. I want to deeply thank the 3,008 minds who anchor our primary loop and who have built the rock-solid foundation of this geometry. As we look at the millions of data points ahead of us, I want to leave you with one final thought as we enter phase 4. In a financial ecosystem waiting to be decentralized and rebuilt, how will you bend the next spiral? Thank you so much for watching, keep building, and we'll see you in the next explainer.